Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So it's Ivy here and I'm back with another book vlog. We're back with another book review. Okay, so September has already started and I have already read one book. I don't know how good that is. Okay, it's the 10th of September. I already started my second book, so I guess that's pretty good. I don't know, I'm gonna try to read at least 5 books this month because I read 4 books in the month of August. And I'm gonna try and read at least 5 this month, just like continually increase it. The book I'm going to be reviewing today is Wild Love by Elsie Silver. So I have read the Chestnut Spring series by her and I really enjoyed it. I have read Flawless and Heartless by Elsie Silver before. Heartless has been, I think, my most favorite book that I've read this year besides The Rebound by Catherine Walsh. So yeah, I think those are like my 2 favorite top books of 2024. We start off meeting Ford, who is like the world's eligible billionaire. He basically he invested in tech and hit really big with it, and then I believe he created an app as well that goes along with it. But his true dream of his is to invest some of his money into creating a recording studio in his summer hometown, Rose Hill, which obviously makes sense because this is the Rose Hill series. In the story, we meet Ford's best friend named Wes, who is his love interest's older brother. They grew up as best friends, but actually Wes lives in Rose Hill full-time and has grown up there his entire life, while Ford and Willa and their family obviously just spent summers there at their lake house. But Ford, now that he's an adult, decided to move back full-time, and that's where he resides and where he wants to continue his business and kind of just like live out his life in the more small town. Okay, so we also meet Rosie within the first few chapters, I believe. I don't know if we meet Rosie first or Ford first, I forget. But we also meet Rosie, I think, in the first or second chapter, because you know she alternates chapters depending on the character's point of view. So we meet Rosie, and Rosie is basically the one who I guess got out of the small town. She moved to Vancouver, and basically she I guess wanted that big city life after growing up in a small town for so long. So she went to college and then eventually got her MBA and then moved to Vancouver. And she also has a boyfriend named Ryan who she resides in Vancouver with and has a really good nice corporate 9-to-5 chic type of job. So that's kind of her life. Yeah, so basically since Ford's family spent summers with them in Rose Hill, because their summer homes are basically next door neighbor, they're basically next door neighbors to each other. They spent summers growing up together. So it was always, growing up, it seemed like there was Wes, Ford, and Rosie always hanging out together because Rosie's only a little bit younger than them. So yeah, and Ford has also always had a crush, a small crush on Rosie since he's been in high school. While she was pretty oblivious to it because she was always super popular, always had guys chasing after her, and so she was never really interested in him in that way. However, they have always had this weird frenemy type of friendship. They always kind of bicker or just say kind of rude or sly comments to each other, and that's just kind of how they interact with one another. So we see them pick that up in the book. Okay, so after we meet Rosie and Ford, we also, within the first few chapters, I think maybe the second or third chapter, we meet Cora, who is Ford's 12-year-old daughter. So when he was actually in college, he donated sperm to buy concert tickets because his dad would not give him the money to buy concert tickets even though he grew up very wealthy. His father wanted to teach him and Willa the value of money, so he didn't really support them while they were in college. They kind of had to work for themselves, and so that's why he donated sperm, took the money, bought concert tickets, but had no idea he had a child out there, that someone, I guess, eventually did use the sperm, and that he had a child out there. So Cora eventually finds him, and he's just like obviously in utter shock. Like, he can't believe one, that he did that. He didn't even remember, and then he can't believe that it's an actual human being now. So yeah, he meets Cora. Cora is 12 years old, and she has her own like trauma and story that comes along with her. She is obviously a child of insemination. They don't really get into like how Cora like really found out it was her dad, that Ford was her dad. They kind of like skip over those details, which I kind of like was expecting to sort of find out, or expecting some sort of detail into like how a 12-year-old could find out who her biological father was. But yeah, they decide not to like really get into the nitty-gritty of that. It just kind of was like, oh, like she's here. She shows up at the doorstep one day and basically asks Ford to take her in. So Ford does eventually take her in, but Cora's backstory is basically like she had a mom and a dad. Her mom is obviously her biological mother. She just needed the sperm. So eventually, like, the father that raised her actually died, and her mom is now in a very like depressive type of state. And so it's not really safe for Cora to live with her mom while her mom is in this grieving type of state that she's in. So Cora is kind of like looking after herself, trying to like take care of the house, while still keeping up with school. And it's fairly certain that she's like slightly neglected, but she doesn't want to end up in foster care, so hence why she finds Ford and basically asks him to take her in, and eventually he does. Okay, meanwhile, while Ford is, you know, basically getting to know his daughter, getting adjusted to his daughter, Rosie is sexually harassed at work, and she tells her boyfriend about it, Ryan, and basically Ryan tells her like, oh, don't rock the boat, it's not that big of a deal, you don't want to get in trouble over it, you don't want to lose your job over it, like you should just kind of go on as if nothing happened. And he doesn't really stand up for her. He just kind of tells her to take it, shut up, and just, you know, go with the flow. And Rosie obviously has some feelings about that, but she just kind of is like, oh, okay, you know, to his face. But obviously this is affecting her it's impacting her life way more than she's letting on. So eventually she does come back home to Rose Hill, and everyone is kind of in shock when she arrives back in town, because obviously she moved away to Vancouver, and everyone kind of just thought she was like living her best life away as a city girl, you know, living it up. But she comes home and her family is like excited to see her, but they're also like shocked that she even came home. And then of course Ford is I guess excited that she's home, but he's also like, he's starting to feel like a teenager again, because he realizes his crush he had on her never really went away, and he's starting to feel those old feelings that he once had for her come about even. So after Ford takes her in, like, Cora and him obviously get adjusted to getting to know each other, and it's a bit weird, like any situation would be if you're just meeting your biological child for the first time that you didn't even know existed, especially when you have missed like a portion of her life, because she's already 12. But she's still fairly young to where like she does need guidance, and she obviously does want a family, and she's yearning for love. So Ford is open to that, but he doesn't know how to really gauge it. So yeah, that's basically what's going on. And then like he is nervous to tell his family about it because he doesn't know how they'll react, and he's just a bit afraid of how all of this will go down. Eventually Ford gets her enrolled at school like near him, and he takes her to school every day, and then she comes home, he feeds her dinner. She has like a basic kind of like 12-year-old routine, and they just start to get to know each other in that way. When Rosie comes back into town, we see her we see their relationship develop as well. So Rosie also has a relationship with Cora, as well as Ford is also developing a relationship with Cora. And so how they sort of try to like blend the family or be like a surrogate family for her is really, really cute to see. And I feel like I haven't read that in a romance novel, so I was like really interested to see that. And I wasn't sure of how much I would like the kid in the romance novel being older. Like the kid is always like a toddler age or like a baby or something like that, and so like it's not really much, like we don't get much dialogue out of them other than it just being cutesy, like, oh, you just want to play or whatever, like, you know what I'm saying? So but Cora is a bit different, obviously, since she's 12. She has her own like opinions, and she does bring like her own personality, her own story to the book, which is really unique. Okay, so while Rosie is home, she realizes that she would still like to work, so she convinces Ford to give her a position at his company, and he does. So she works kind of as like his personal assistant, just helping him get the record label and the recording studio up and running. And then she also like handles numbers because she actually has a master's in business, so it kind of does like work out perfectly that she needed a job and she ends up working for him. At the company, she offers to pick Cora up from school, and that's when we see Rosie and Cora's relationship develop a lot, because, you know, obviously they have that one-on-one time, and then Cora gets like, I guess, like a surrogate mother figure while her mother is like away in the mental institution. Rosie obviously gets that one-on-one time with Cora, and like they begin to just kind of like enjoy each other's company, and it's really sweet seeing their relationship develop. But I think Rosie also starts to fall for Ford during this time as well, because she sees how much he cares about Cora and how much he's trying to like build a real connection to her and really try to get to know her. As the story progresses, like we start to realize that Rosie has always had like some sort of affinity or admiration towards Ford. Like she has always sort of like adored him in some way, I think because she was more popular in school and then he wasn't. It was kind of like they almost couldn't like each other, not only for those reasons but because of West. Obviously, like that's her brother, so it's like you kind of can't like my younger sister type of thing, is what I think what Ford was thinking. And I think he thought she was a bit out of his league because she was popular and he wasn't. But one thing I will say is like the banter in this book is like so entertaining. Like literally just watching them go back and forth with their emails, the little sly comments. They are always like low-key talking trash to one another, and it's so interesting to read. I love that because it's like a frenemies to lovers trope. I feel like the bickering worked so well because Rosie's personality gives like sunshine slash sass at the same time. She's very sassy at the same time. So like this one part, they're like sending emails back to each other in the office, and they can just like never really be completely serious. Like they're always throwing jabs at the other one. And yeah, I feel like that's Ford's way of even flirting with Rosie. Rosie says, "P.S. I'm hungry and leaving for lunch. You have a free hour to harvest souls or whatever while I'm away." This girl is like crazy, okay? Like, okay, so I feel like the way I just read that, there was no context really. But basically they were talking about going back and forth in email while they were both in the office, talking about numbers. Like she needed a budget of how much money she needed to spend in a certain area, and he just wouldn't give her a straight answer. He just would not do it. He plays so much, he wouldn't give her a straight answer. So that's like how she responded. So I was just like, I love that, because it's like, even though he's technically her boss now, she's still like, okay, I've known you my whole life and I'm gonna talk to you like how I always talk to you. Like the banter made the relationship between them real. So as the story unfolds, Ford and Rosie begin to really start to like one another and develop strong feelings for one another because they spend so much time together. They spend time together with Ford's daughter, even if it's one-on-one or like all three of them together. They see each other a lot because they're neighbors. They work together obviously, and their friends are just like family friends, and he's best friends with her older brother, so they see a lot of each other. And I think just that close proximity like just allowed them to develop stronger real life feelings for one another. It seems like they both have always kind of had feelings for one another and just didn't know that the other one didn't know that they both liked each other. And maybe it just like wasn't meant for them to be together at like when they were young growing up. So now that they're older, like they both kind of know Wagwan, they both have dated other people, been in other relationships. So like now I feel like their feelings are more mature and they know exactly like what it is that they want from one another. So we see their feelings develop, and then a little bit of spice happens. You know, my girl Elsie always gonna throw in a little bit of spice. So yeah, they end up getting spicy, and Ford then starts to feel a bit guilty, and he starts to pull away a bit because like of what happened to Rosie at her last job. Obviously she was sexually harassed, so like he doesn't want to sort of repeat that same mistake or feel like he has some sort of power over her just because she works for him now. I think overall the book is non-traditional. It's like a non-traditional romance in the sense that Elsie took real life experiences, real life situations, and then applied it to a romance novel, but still happened to make it super fun, fluffy, with a bit of spice type of romance. And that's why I think she's just an excellent writer, because like not knowing you have a kid is crazy, but like it's real life. Like this can happen in real life. So I feel like, and then even just like dating someone who may have a child is real, you know what I'm saying? Growing up with someone, not really liking them, or sort of feeling them but not thinking it's okay to date, and then dating later on in life, I feel like that's really real. So I love how she sort of made romance feel very fluffy while still adding real life situations into a novel. If you can take something that's super real to certain people in real life and make it relatable but still make it fun, fluffy, and just like a good heartwarming story, I am rooting for that 10 out of 10 all the time. And I'm not gonna lie, I ate it up. I ate it up and I left no crumbs. I definitely recommend this book if you guys have not read it. And now I need to read Wild Eyes. I'm excited to read Wes's story. I will say I feel like we didn't get enough of Wes in the book. In this book, like we didn't see enough of him in this story to make me invested in him as a character. All in all, I rate Wild Love a good 4 out of 5 stars. All I have for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up, and let me know if you guys have read Wild Love, and if any of y'all have read Wild Eyes, tell me how it is without spoiling it. But yes, let me know how it is, because I'm excited to pick that one up and to read that one as well. But yeah, I would say definitely go out, read this one if you want like a cute, fluffy type of romance book, and if you want a book that you cannot put down. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.